Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Today we will be doing shlokas 35 to 38, 4 shlokas of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. We have completed up to shloka number 34 in the previous session. This was the shloka that we did in the last session. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. The shloka told us how one should get this knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. One should approach a guru. One should offer their humble obeisance to the guru. One should ask the guru intelligent and thoughtful questions. One should not have a false cheating mentality. One should not hide anything from the guru. One should not be duplicitous. And one should render service, seva. So when one does all this, then the guru, being pleased with the disciple, liking the disciple's character, imparts that spiritual knowledge to them. So the Bhagavad-Gita is a book of spiritual knowledge. It's giving us the knowledge that we don't get elsewhere. What is spiritual knowledge? Spiritual knowledge begins with the understanding, or by pointing out that each of us, each living being, each of us is actually a jivatma, the atma which lives in the material body. In the absence of that knowledge, we think by default that we are this material body. Each of us identifies ourselves with this material body, and our designation, the name that we have, is this body. And we are focused fully on our bodily requirements. The goal of our life seems to be to only fulfill those bodily requirements, get as much sensual pleasure that we can for the body. Maximizing sense pleasure seems to be the goal of life. Spiritual knowledge, when it comes, makes it clear to us that no, bodily pleasure, the pursuit of bodily pleasure is definitely should not be the goal, because the happiness that we can get, our real happiness, lies in our understanding that we are not this body, that we are the jivatma, discovering our original consciousness, our pure consciousness, and then connecting with Sri Bhagavan in a loving relationship, bhakti. That gives us the best possible happiness. Since happiness is the common goal for us, spiritual knowledge, the pursuit of spiritual knowledge, should be our main occupation. So the Bhagavad Gita points out all these things. So that knowledge is available to us through a guru. Only when we go and serve the guru in his association, this knowledge develops. Now going forward, Sri Bhagavan tells us the sweet fruits of jnana. That's the theme of today's session. By getting that spiritual knowledge, what are the fruits? How does it feel to get that knowledge? The very first thing, jnana frees one from delusion. Yajñatva, 35th shloka. Yajñatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani asheshena drakshyasi atmani atho mayi. So Sri Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Yajñatva means having known this, having got this knowledge from the Guru, na punarmoham, there will not be delusion. Moham means delusion, right? Illusion, delusion. Delusion means the confusion or ignorance of reality. So that delusion will completely vanish when this knowledge comes in. It's just like when light is brought into a dark room, then you don't have to work to remove the darkness by any process. There's nothing called removing the darkness. There's only something called as bringing the light. When you bring the light, automatically darkness is removed. Similarly, when jnana comes, when jnana emerges, or we discover our jnana which already exists inside us, when the jnana is discovered by uncovering the existing ignorance, then automatically the confusion, delusion vanishes. Evam yasyasi, in this manner. Evam means in this manner, yasyasi, you will be able to attain, O Pandava. Yena, by which, bhutani, all the living beings, aseshena means without remainder. Ashesha means without any remainder. Bhutani, all living beings, you will be able to see. Drakshyasi, atmani means in the self. So what does it mean here, see in the self? What it means is that you will be able to see each living being as a jivatma, just like yourself. Just like you have realized that you are not this body, you are the jivatma. You will be able to see that every living being is exactly like that. Every living being is nothing but a distinct jivatma, and therefore there is oneness, there is equality. Okay, the ethical question of equality, morality in discriminating between different people, that will completely vanish, because now you'll only see that the difference lies in the material body, and the living being is anyway not the material body, and everybody is equal. It's only because of their karma that they have taken some particular body now and they are behaving in some particular manner. But in reality, that's not going to be permanent. That's only now with them like that. Therefore, the person who has this knowledge will treat everybody equally without discrimination. There's no discrimination between rich man, poor man, male, female, intelligent person, foolish person, whatever. So everybody is equal in the eyes of that person, and the same amount of respect that he gives to one person, he will give the same amount of respect to the other person. Right? And finally, Sri Bhagavan says in the shloka, Atho Mai. So not only will you be able to see all living beings in this manner, you will also be able to see everything in me. What does that mean? That simply means that Sri Bhagavan actually is the Parama Karana. He is the supreme cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karana. So if you do a causal analysis, like in management, we do what is called as the root cause analysis, right? We do the cause of the cause and then the cause of that cause. So if we do a very honest root cause analysis of reality around us, not only about the management problem that we are trying to take a decision about the reality as a whole, then ultimately Vedanta takes us back to Sri Bhagavan. That Bhagavan who himself does not have any cause, because he is the cause of all causes, Paramakarana. And so now with this jnana that has come to you by the blessings of the Guru, you will be able to get that vision that Sri Bhagavan is the cause of everything that I see. That will become a firm, it will not just become just a theoretical knowledge, but a realization. You will be able to actually see that as reality. Okay, that's what Sri Bhagavan is pointing out. And in Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana's commentary, on the basis of which I was explaining all this, he just points out all these things that all our ignorance is based on this conception of ourselves as a body. And in the context in which Arjuna is now listening to the Bhagavad-Gita, he's the first recipient of Bhagavad-Gita. So the perception of killer, I am the killer, I'm going to kill those relatives, that will go away. That when this knowledge comes, me as the killer, they as the killed, I'm fighting with them, all this misconception goes away. You realize that I'm doing my duty and they are doing what they think is their duty. And in the course of that, it has so happened that we are now engaged in a war. That's all. Nobody is killing anybody else. Okay, especially when somebody is situated in this knowledge, they are free from desire. They are free from ichcha and dvesha. So in that context, even when they kill somebody, there is no karma for that, because they are not doing it out of desire for themselves. They're doing it only as dharma. Okay. So when one Swarupa is purified of the ignorance, then one does not think in this manner. And the law of karma actually is the one that determines how living beings take bodies in this world. It's the reason that we have the body that we currently have. Our past karma has led us to this position. And by our connection to Sri Bhagavan and getting this knowledge, that karma is destroyed. This is the translation of the shloka. O Pandava, upon obtaining this knowledge, you will not experience this delusion again. Owing to this knowledge, you will see that all living beings, without exception, as distinct jivatmas, and thereafter as present inside me or in me. Moving forward. The 36th shloka.
Click on the chat.
Click on the chat. Somebody has asked. Yeah. Yes. Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. So Shri Bhagavan says, even if you, api ched means even if, asi, you are, papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah, you are more sinful in the kind of sin that you are committing. You are more sinful than even the most sinful person, or you are the most sinful among all sinful people. Even then, says sarvam, everything. Jnana plavenaiva. Jnana plavenaiva means, plavam means a boat. Jnana plavam. Knowledge is compared to a boat here. The metaphor of a boat is used for knowledge. Jnana plavena eva vrijinam. Vrijinam, the word vrijinaha. Vrijinaha means something that is very wicked or vicious. Wicked, vicious, very difficult, very, like we say, wicked problem or wicked situation, a wicked person. So here, the wicked situation is a situation of being implicated by our papa, the pap that we have done in the past. So vrijinam santarishyasi, you will cross over. So because the metaphor of a boat is being used, we can understand that accumulation of pap that we have done in the past, because of which we are implicated, is like an ocean. It's like a large ocean. It's throwing up turbulent waves at us. But the boat of knowledge, jnana plavam, that will help us to cross this easily. Sarvam jnana plavena eva vrijinam santarishyasi. So even if somebody is very sinful, extremely sinful, if that person has knowledge, this spiritual knowledge, this pure knowledge, that will help him to cross over that sin and become free from that sin completely. Okay, and after that, he will not commit any sin. So here, different commentators like Madhusudan Saraswati, Shri Baladeva also, and Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti also, they have pointed out that this shloka actually is using what is known as atishayokti, in the sense exaggeration. Because fundamentally, a person who is sinful has got a sinful mentality, or a mentality which attracts him towards sin. Like, for example, killing animals, eating meat, or anything. I mean, or troubling others. Basic form of sin is to just cause trouble to others. Himsa doesn't mean only killing things, but even to trouble others just for the sake of pleasure is also pap. And any kind of sinful tendency and the accumulation of his past sins, what he has done in the past, if such a person is in the middle of that, then it is practically impossible for such a person to get jnana. Such a person cannot have jnana. But at the same time, so there seems to be a contradiction, but the intention of the shloka is not a contradiction. It is only to say how powerful jnana is. So when somebody is sincere, and even a simple person wants to say that I want to give up that sinful mentality and I want to become pure, he becomes attracted towards sadhutva, and says, I want to experience what the sadhu is experiencing, what the pure person is experiencing. I want that experience. And he starts changing. Then that jnana starts coming to him, and that jnana will help him to overcome and destroy that path. That's the intention of this shloka, the greatness of jnana. Even if you are more sinful than all sinful persons, you will cross over the wicked and vicious ocean of sin only with the boat of jnana. The 37th shloka, Yathaidhamsi samiddhognihi bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagnihi sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. So edhas, I have also explained this shloka in an earlier session, but I will repeat that now. Edhas refers to fuel in Sanskrit. Edhas means something that can be burnt and with which energy can be generated for some purpose. So any kind of fuel is called edhas, and edhas in plural becomes edhamsi. So yatha edhamsi samiddho agnihi. Samiddha means a blazing fire. Okay, samiddho agnihi, a fire which is roaring, a blazing fire. Bhasmasat kurute. So a blazing fire, if you put some fuel into it, like firewood or anything, petrol, diesel, any kind of fuel, what does it do? It converts that into ashes instantly. Bhasmasat kurute. So he says, Jnanagni, in the same way, knowledge is like that fire, a blazing fire. What does it do? Sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. Sarva karmani, all karma. Here karma refers to the fruits of our past karma, karma-phala. So the past karma that we have has led to two types of fruits broadly, punya karma and papa karma. Right? Punya is that which gives us happiness in the future. It creates good situations for us, which we like, desirable situations. And papa is that which creates undesirable situations, creates pain, misery for us. Both punya and papa are burnt by knowledge when it comes. That past we don't have to experience in the future. What we would have otherwise experienced in the future, that future is destroyed. Okay, so the future, so we become futureless, means that this material future ceases to exist for us if all the karma is destroyed. Now, so that is the power of jnana. And here, Sri Vishnu Chakravarti points out, and Sri Baladeva also, that the root of all karma, the papa, punya that we get, is our avidya, okay, ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of our original identity, our real identity as the Jivatma. That avidya or ignorance, or the lack of education about that knowledge, right? Vidya can mean both knowledge or education of to get that knowledge, acquire that knowledge, the process of education. So that avidya leads to basically two types of things, aprarabdha phalam and prarabdha phalam. The karma phala that we have, the fruits of karma, is broadly categorized in two ways. One is punya papa, but the punya papa itself is of two types, aprarabdha and prarabdha. Aprarabdha means that which has not yet begun fructifying. Prarabdha means that which has begun fructifying. Okay, so in the dormant form, for example, we have been in existence since eternity. There is no starting point for the Jivatma. When was I created? There's no time when I was created or you were created. Nobody. Natvevaham jatu nasam, Shri Bhagavan says. There was no time when you did not exist. So, which means that the karma that we have done has begun from eternity. There's no specific time point t equal to 0 when it began. Right? T is minus infinity. So there is huge amount of karma that has accumulated over time, some of which we have already experienced. That phala has already been given to us and removed from the account. It has been cleared from the account. But still there is a lot balance left in the account, which we have to experience. A part of that balance is being experienced in this lifetime. When we are taking birth in this life. In fact, the very fact that the very design of a given birth, that we are born to a particular mother and father in a particular community, in certain circumstances, with certain bodily abilities, a certain type of body, our appearance, our strength, weakness, sometimes handicap, the presence or absence of handicap. All this is a function of the karma that we have in the past, we have done in the past, right? So we see the gradation in people, the differentiation that we see in people is not in the Jivatma, it's in the karma. Because of the karma, we see people of different abilities, different appearances, different shapes, sizes, their natures, different natures. Everything is a result of that karma. Now, that is the prarabdha karma. That karma has started fructifying. That's why it is there in the form of this body, right? And even in that, the sequence in which it manifests. So the karma is in different stages. So aprarabdha phalam broadly has what is called as kuta and bija. Kuta is that mass accumulation. Kutam means accumulation, cumulative. It's lying as a heap which is dormant, like we say, dormant volcano. So it's lying there waiting to fructify. Bija is something that is not yet fructified, but it's ready to fructify, a seed. Right? Just like in the plant kingdom, we know the word bija means a seed. The seed has not yet fructified, that's why it's a seed, but it is more close to fructifying than, let us say, the plant itself. The plant produces the seed. The plant is the basis for the seed, and the seed in turn is the basis for a future plant. So here the kuta is the basis for the bija, and kuta and bija together are aprarabdha. They have not yet fructified. And bija eventually becomes prarabdha phala. It becomes manifest. It starts fructifying in the form of whatever happiness and misery we experience. It gives both punya and papa, both come out like this. Now here, the commentators have pointed out that what is being described in this shloka, the 37th shloka, that jnana burns to ashes all the karma, refers to only the aprarabdha karma-phala, not the prarabdha karma-phala. Prarabdha karma is still going on. If the prarabdha karma also is instantly burned to ashes, then a lot of other change will happen. That doesn't happen. Prarabdha karma continues. We continue to live in the body with the jnana. What it does is it weakens that prarabdha karma. So if that prarabdha karma has to give us a certain type of, let us say, material wealth and certain type of material status, that status and wealth will come, but our ego associated with that will not be the same. Okay, it may come, but we will be very detached from it. And therefore, the indulgence of my indulgence in that karma will not be the same. Or sometimes, by the grace of Sri Bhagavan, when he knows that this person is very serious, he may even prevent that particular punya to come. Because if that punya comes, then this person may get distracted. He may go away. And the same happens for papa as well. If some misery has to come with some magnitude, by the blessings of Sri Bhagavan and this jnana, that karma, when it manifests to a much smaller degree, okay, much weaker degree, so that the person's practice of jnana, practice of that path will not be disturbed. And whatever karma the person is now performing, okay, the person is now performing karma in the current life with the jnana, right? At the bare minimum, even if he's just doing meditation, he's doing meditation. That's also an activity. So what happens to that karma? So that karma does not result in punya or papa, does not give further fruits. Further fruits are avoided. And so it's compared to a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Just like a lotus in the pond, because of turbulence in the water, sometimes some water falls on the leaf, it forms droplets on the leaf. But those droplets don't make the leaf wet. The leaf doesn't become wet like a garment. A garment becomes wet if you put it in the water, right? It soaks that water and it becomes wet. If you remove the garment from the water, then the water will remain, it feels wet. But that doesn't happen to the leaf. If you take the leaf out of the water, it'll be absolutely dry. Any droplet on the leaf will just fall away like that. So the karma that is performed by a person who is in that pure jnana, who has realized that jnana and living in that jnana all the time, will not have punya or papa. There's no punya or papa of that. So he freely performs karma. And this is what makes him eligible to get mukti. If that jnana state continues with him and he doesn't fall from that jnana, theoretically it's possible to fall from the jnana, but if he doesn't fall from the jnana, then he becomes eligible for mukti. He gets bhakti. He's able to get bhakti. And here again, the will and the intention of Sri Bhagavan. See, ultimately, bhakti is a result of kripa, Bhagavad kripa, and that is required for mukti. And here, when somebody is that stage, then Sri Bhagavan's compassion also works on him, and he is able to eventually get mukti. So despite the fact that the prarabdha karma is still there in a weakened form, Bhagavan's kindness, Bhagavan helps that person. So like they say that if you take one step towards him, he takes 100 steps towards you. So he is more eager than you that you should be liberated. You should get mukti from this world. Oh Arjuna, just like a burning fire reduces firewood to ashes, the fire of jnana burns to ashes all the reactions of past karma, both punya and papa. And finally, Sri Bhagavan concludes these 4 shlokas by saying, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate, tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. Very beautiful shloka. He says that Nahi jnanena sadrisham. In comparison to jnana, there is nothing pavitram iha vidyate, nothing in this world as pure. There's nothing in this world as pure as that jnana, that pure spiritual knowledge. Tat swayam yoga samsiddha, one who has attained success in yoga. This whole process that he is describing is the process of karma and jnana yoga. So I call this karma jnana yoga because karma and jnana yoga are 2 names for the same path. It's because of 2 types of activities that happen on that path. One of them gives the name karma yoga, another one gives the name jnana yoga, but they are the same path. And so Sri Bhagavan refers to this path again and again in the Bhagavad-gi just by the word yoga. So one who is yoga samsiddha, one who has succeeded in yoga, kalena atmani vindati, in course of time. Kalena means over the course of time. Means it's not instantaneous. The moment you start practicing karma yoga, instantly you don't get jnana. Over a prolonged period of time, as you practice it persistently, as you persist with patience, kalena atmani vindati, means he experiences this within himself. So this is something that is experiential in nature. Vindati means experiences. Vindati experiences or enjoys, you can say. He feels the pleasure of that. The word vind also is used to indicate something that you relish. Okay, just like you go to a restaurant and you order some food of your liking. When that food comes, you start putting it in the mouth and then you relish that food. You waited half an hour for the waiter to bring it. And all the time you're eager, when will it come? But ultimately it comes and then you start putting it in the mouth and then you relish that. You really soak yourself and you forget about everything around you because you're enjoying that food. That's the meaning of vindati. So this person who, after doing, long period of time, maybe years and years, decades of practice of karma yoga, jnana yoga with sincerity, starts tasting this knowledge. That is the meaning of vindati, starts feeling the pleasure of that experience. Okay, so here, there is nothing as pure as this. Not even tapasya, any form of tapasya. The people sometimes do a lot of krur tapasya, very hard, very harsh tapasya, which is excruciating. Okay, like Chandrayana Vratam. And they go on Tirtha Yatra. Like I pointed out in the previous class too, Tirtha Yatra is not merely tourism as it is projected today. Some of the forms of tourism. Recently we saw this, what is that, Ganga cruise on the Ganga. Definitely that is not Tirtha Yatra. Spend 20 lakhs, go on a cruise, and you have the highest luxury that you may not get in a 5-star hotel also. And you're sitting on Mother Ganga going like that, eating, drinking. So that's definitely not what is meant by Tirtha Yatra here. Tirtha Yatra is done with the consciousness of God. I mean, all the time you are thinking of, what can I do to serve him? What can I do to understand him better? And you perform various austerities. It's, in the earlier times, no vehicles, people used to go on foot, completely on foot. And they would walk maybe 25, 30, 40 kilometers a day. Right? So what we are doing as marathon is very small in comparison to that. It's nothing. So they would do marathon every day. And they would all the time be chanting God's names. Right? It's there. Even now you see people doing that. There are people even now who do this. If you go to some of these pilgrimage places, you'll see people actually doing this. There are people who do this. So it's not really extinct. And you are visiting temples and you are listening to sadhus speaking on these spiritual topics. Sometimes you also give a spiritual discourse if you have that knowledge. Tirtha Yatra is composed of all these things. So by the time you return from the Tirtha Yatra, you're a transformed person. The Tirtha Yatra completely purifies the person, right? If it is done in the proper way. But here it says that ultimately it's that jnana which comes, which is the most pure. And that experience of that jnana, the way it purifies the person, is far superior to everything else. Yoga samsiddha means that it requires persistence and it's not something that's overnight. It's done over time. Kalena vindati. Yeah, again, so this is a point, very fine point, that in the context of this Bhagavad-Gita, when Gita was spoken, Arjuna wanted to leave the battlefield and go away. I don't want to kill my relatives. I'll be much happier if I just take sannyas, if I just go away and live in a forest on my own. I'll just do japa and so on. So it says that, you're not ready for that. Actually, through Arjuna, he's talking to us. It's not for Arjuna because he's a very elevated person. For us, you're not ready for that. Don't just go away thinking that you can sit somewhere. It will not work for you. Instead, you do yoga, systematically do yoga, and over time, this will emerge. Give it that patience. That's the fine point being made here. There's nothing in this world as pure as jnana. One who has matured by the practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga experiences this knowledge within themselves in the course of time. Okay, so thus I have covered these 4 shlokas, and I also wanted to tell you in conclusion that jnana that we are talking about here, spiritual realization, spiritual knowledge, realization of the self, is actually a side effect of the process of bhakti. Okay, and I've been telling you in earlier sessions also that in the Gita, very broadly, 2 paths of yoga are covered. One is the path which I call karma jnana yoga, and the other is the path of bhakti yoga. In bhakti yoga, one does not depend upon one's varna karma, the karma that is prescribed as per one's varna. Instead, one engages in the activities of bhakti and one directly connects with Sri Bhagavan. If one has that shraddha, one requires the shraddha to do that. Not everybody has that shraddha, and therefore the path of karma jnana yoga is given. In the Kali Yuga, the path of karma jnana yoga is also very difficult to perform. The path of bhakti is very practical. But it also has a advantage that the path of bhakti directly gives that jnana. One doesn't require to perform one's prescribed karma as per the varna. Instead, one continues to do one's activities as they are doing in the normal life, along with the activities of bhakti. One adds the activities of bhakti to their normal life and charges their life with bhakti, with the presence of Sri Bhagavan. And that presence of bhakti automatically creates jnana or lives. It is said that jnana is a servant of bhakti. Wherever Bhakti Devi goes, jnana and vairagya. So one doesn't have to separately go and say, I'll do vairagya and go and live somewhere. And vairagya automatically emerges inside the person. Okay, and one is able to experience that jnana. So to illustrate the sweetness of bhakti, I wanted to tell you today the story of Sri Madhavendra Puri, a very great scholar and sannyasi who lived in the 15th century. And Madhavendra Puri, he was responsible for a whole sampradaya of bhakti, in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and presented this school of thought, which is today called as the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. Began from Bengal, and Madhavendra Puri is the originator of that. Madhavendra Puri was a sannyasi. He had received his sannyas diksha from the Madhva Sampradaya, which is in Udupi, which is based in Udupi. So he had taken his diksha there. But he came to Vrindavan, and his base was in Vrindavan. And later on, he went to Bengal, Puri, Orissa, and performed activities in Orissa as well. And eventually, his samadhi is in Orissa. Okay, so I want to tell you very briefly the major activities. Now, before I begin this narrative, let me also say this, that these saints, many of these saints, you see, they were so secluded and they were so egoless that they never wanted any publicity, and they prevented people from writing about them, talking about them. Because of this, not much is known about some of these people. So Madhavendra Puri, very little is known about him. A few of his prominent activities are known, but even they are very illustrious, and they show what stage of bhakti he had and what stage of development in bhakti he was experiencing in his consciousness. So this narrative begins with Sri Madhavendra Puri doing the parikrama of Sri Govardhan. Govardhan is a hill which is the hill that Sri Bhagavan lifted on his little finger. And this is today present in Vrindavan, near Vrindavan. It's in the district of Mathura in UP. And today, the way that the states have been divided, a small portion of Govardhan lies in Rajasthan. It's on the border of UP and Rajasthan. So when you do the parikrama of Govardhan today, you start in UP, then you go into Rajasthan, and after 1 kilometer, you come back into UP again, and then complete the parikrama. That's how it happens. So today, earlier, let's say about 30 years back, when I did this parikrama first time, it was a mud path. It was made with completely with mud, and people would walk on that. The only way to do the parikrama was to walk, and that's how it is meant to be done. And there are people who do dandavat parikrama, means they offer pranam, and then they get up, and then they go to the place where their hand was lying. Again, they do dandavat. So the whole parikrama is done by doing dandavat only, not by walking. Okay, and then there are people who do, in each place they do dandavat a certain number of times, not just once, but they do like 50 times or 108 times. And that's an even more committed thing. And that kind of parikrama takes several years to perform. It doesn't happen. So practically the whole of your life, you're doing just that parikrama. And there are people there who do like that. You see that if you go there and do this parikrama. Over the years, what has happened is, in the name of development, the government has laid a road there, a tar road. The whole parikrama route, which was made of mud, sometime in these last 30 years, tar road has come. So now people go by vehicle. Some people who walk also, and the people who are still doing Dandavat Parikrama, but many people, they go around by car and they say Parikrama is over. In half an hour, the Parikrama gets over. So anyway, that's their Shraddha. Depending on the Shraddha, people do different ways of Parikrama. So Madhavendra Puri, once he did this Parikrama, and after doing this Parikrama, he went to a place called Govindakund. Okay, Govindakund is still there. It's very well maintained. It's a very beautiful sarovar on the Parikrama path of Govardhan. And here he took bath and he took rest. Okay, he takes rest on the site under a tree. And as he's resting, you see, his consciousness is so elevated that he's so absorbed in Krishna, in the memories of Krishna, that he doesn't think of food, he doesn't think of sleeping, he doesn't think of shelter. He doesn't require that. His body or mind. You see, a lot of our requirement of food, sleep, etc., come from our mind, our mental state, right? So his mental state is such that he doesn't feel the need for that. He's completely absorbed in that thought of God, that he doesn't feel the need for those things. And he's sitting there under a tree and he's just thinking what's the next thing to do and so on. So at that point of time, a little boy appears in front of him, and he's a village boy. You can make out he's a village boy, and he comes and he brings milk to him, and he says, Babaji, please take this milk. So then Madhavendra Puri, he says, who are you? Why have you brought this milk to me? He says, I'm a village boy, and in our village we have a lot of these cows, and my job is to just take care of these and in the morning some women from my village had come here to take bath and fill the water, and they saw you here. They realized that you are a sadhu. They looked at you and they could make out you are a very serious sadhu. So they sent me, and they asked me to deliver this milk to you. So now I have taken the milk for you only. So please have it. And in our village, anybody who comes here, we don't allow them to go without having anything. We don't allow anyone to remain hungry in our village. That's a niyam here. So you have to have it. And after you have it, just leave it here. I will come back later and take it and go. So Madhavendra Puri is convinced of that. And so he takes that milk. And he then immediately washes that pot and he keeps it in the side. And he's waiting for the boy to come back. He thinks the boy will now come back and take it. And the boy doesn't come back. So he's wondering why doesn't he come back? And so he's just thinking like that. And he falls asleep. He's doing his japa, he's doing his prayers, and he just falls asleep there itself. And as he is sleeping, he gets a dream. And in that dream, that same little boy appears in the dream and he starts speaking to him. He says, Oh, Madhavendra Puri, I wanted to talk to you, say something important to you. You see, I've been living here for a very long time. And, I'm actually now feeling very uncomfortable because they have buried me inside the ground. So you have to come and now take me out of this ground. And I actually wanted to see you. That's why I came to you in this morning. But now, please help me. Please relieve me. I'm feeling a lot of heat in the summer, a lot of cold in the winter. You know where I am? I'm in this forest. There's this kunj. Okay, so those Vrindavan, they use the word kunj. Kunj means small forest. Like, here we have area in between XLRI campus, we see a place where a lot of trees are there. So a lot of shrubs, trees, creepers, they grow wildly. Not a garden, not a well-planned garden, but a wildly growing. So I'm in this kunj. So please come and take me out of here. You can take the help of my villagers. They will all help you. So the dream gets over and Madhavendra Puri suddenly wakes up. What a dream, That boy, he came in the morning to give me milk and suddenly he comes and speaks this. So who is that boy? Is it Sri Bhagavan himself who has come? He starts contemplating and he starts realizing that yes, actually Krishna himself came and gave me that milk. It's not some village boy, ordinary village boy. Oh my God, what has happened? I can't believe this. He's totally in shock with that. So he then slowly goes to the village. He talks to the villagers and he says, see, actually, Sri Bhagavan came to me in this dream. He says that he's now living in your village and he's been buried here. So I think maybe there is a vigraha of Krishna here. And let's go and see. So villagers, when they see him, Actually, they didn't come in the morning. But now they see him, and he's a proper sadhu, he's a sannyasi. So they respect him, they receive him, and they do whatever he says. So they take their, all the tools and equipment they have, they go to the kunj, they excavate that kunj completely, and they find a beautiful vigraha of Sri Bhagavan. He's holding his hand like this, and his one hand is on his waist, and one hand is holding like this. So it's the form of Krishna holding the Govardhan hill, and it has been established there. Okay, so actually it's one of the deities that Vajranabha made. Okay, so in the last session I spoke about Krishna's great grandson Vajranabha, and he created 16 deities, and he wanted to actually understand what Krishna looked like so that he could relish Krishna's appearance. He has never seen Krishna born because Krishna had left the end of Kali Yuga. So 16 deities were created, one of them, and he established them in different places. And this deity he had established here. He had actually he had renovated Vrindavan after Krishna's disappearance. He had renovated and established temples in Vrindavan, and one of them was this deity. And later on, much later, when there were invasions from outside into India, and invaders were destroying temples, looting temples like Ghazni, Ghori. So these kind of invasions kept happening. And at some point of time, the priests of the temple, they had taken the deity out, and this only way to protect the deity was to bury it in the ground with the hope that somebody in future will excavate and re-establish it. So that deity now Sri Madhavendra Puri takes out, and he does what the dream, that boy had told him in the dream. Please establish a temple for me and please worship me, and this will be for the benefit of whole society. So immediately he establishes a temple on Govardhan, on the hill, and he establishes a whole paddhati of puja, is how to do puja seva for this deity. So the whole village, they're all very excited, absolutely excited that Sri Bhagavan has appeared like this. Even otherwise in Vrindavan, everybody has that consciousness of Krishna. If you visit Vrindavan, some of you might have visited Vrindavan, everywhere they're talking about Krishna. They have some understanding of Krishna. It may not be the same as what we are describing in the Gita or Bhagavatam, but for them, Krishna is like their own person, and they talk about him. They offer food to him. You can't argue with them. You have to accept whatever they say. It belongs to them. Krishna is their property. So these villagers are excited, absolutely excited. And as this worship happens, one day, so this deity is called Gopal. The deity, that form of deity is called Gopal. He's worshipped as Gopal. And this Gopal deity was worshipped for several centuries there after Madhavendra Puri. Now, again, after some time, after everything is normal and Madhavendra Puri is fully engaged in this seva, this Gopal appears to him again in one more dream. And he says, Sri Madhavendra, I am now experiencing a lot of heat. It is the summer time, summer is coming up. And in this summer, I'm unable to take the heat. It's extremely hot. So please do something for me. Please go to Odisha. And in Odisha, they grow chandan. It's called Malayaja chandan. It's grown in the forests. There are sandalwood trees in some places in Odisha. I think even now there is sandalwood cultivation in Odisha in some places. Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think probably at that time it was even more. So he says, you please go there. Please go to Odisha and bring two things for me. One is chandan, the other is karpur. Karpur in Hindi is called kapur. Karpura is the original Sanskrit word. It refers to camphor. So both of these, when you apply to the body, they have a very cooling effect. They can cool the body. And in the summer, in many places in India, in many places, karpur is applied, chandan is applied. Sandalwood paste is applied to the deity to keep the deity cool. Okay. In fact, there is one temple, just a small deviation from this story. There's one temple near Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. It's called Simhachalam. There, Sri Bhagavan is sitting in the form of Narsimha. That too, Ugra Narsimha. Ugra Narsimha is the form of Narsimha in which he killed Hiranyakashipu. He came out of the pillar. He was extremely angry. Extreme anger because Hiranyakashipu had tortured his devotee, his bhakta, Prahlad. So that anger form is called the form of Ugra Narsimha, and it's worshipped in a few places in India. There are Ugra Narsimha temples where Narsimha is sitting, and Hiranyakashipu is on his lap, and his intestines are being removed. His intestines are out. that is shown in the temple. So that's the angry form. So in Simhachalam, there is this form of Ugra Narasimha. Yeah, just 1 second. And in this form of deity, the deity is so hot that throughout the year, it is covered with chandan. Because it's understood that if you remove that chandan, then people won't be able to live there. The heat is so much. Except one day in the year. One day in the year, there's one particular day, one tithi, on which that chandan is removed. And again, the next day it's put back. But on that one day on which it is removed, the temperature goes up everywhere. And even in Visakhapatnam, it's this temple is about 30-40 kilometers from Visakhapatnam on a hill. And even in Vizag, they feel that temperature going up. And they say today that chandan removal has happened. So chandan is requested for by Sri Gopal. And here, Rinaksha wanted to say something.
So actually, sir, in Puri also,
yeah,
there is a yatra called Dardana Yatra, which goes on for 1 month. And every day in the afternoon, what happens is that Lord Jagannath's victor, not exact victor, but some representative sort of thing, they take it through, there is a kunda or something like that. They goes through and through Nauka or through boat, they roam around in that.
kunda.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarovar, in the Sarovar, yes, Chandan Yatra.
Every day. Every year for 1 month.
1 month, Chandan Yatra. That's during the summer time, right?
Summertime, but
Yes.
Jeshta Mas.
Jeshta, in the Jeshta Mas. Jeshta is one of the summer months, yes.
Before the Rath Yatra.
So, taking this dream to heart, this instruction given to him in the dream to heart, Sri Madhavendra Puri sets out for Orissa. He's very happy. He goes via Bengal. And eventually, he reaches the temple of Gopinath at a place called Remuna. Remuna is a small town in western Odisha, eastern Odisha, near Balasore. Okay, near Balasore. It's between Baripada and Balasore, but very close to Balasore, about 8 kilometers from Balasore. Today it's called Balasore. Original name is Baleshwar. Baleshwar is Shiva, Baleshwar. So he reaches the temple of Remuna. In Remuna, there is a very, very old temple, extremely old temple of Krishna. It's called Gopinath. That form of Krishna is called Gopinath. And that deity of Gopinath is worshipped with 2 other deities of Krishna also on both sides. One is the deity of Madan Mohan. It's called Madan Mohan. And the other is the deity of Sri Govindadev. So Madan Mohan, Gopinath, and Govindadev, 3 deities of Krishna are worshipped on that altar. Gopinath is in the center. So that's not known as the Gopinath temple. And it's very, very famous. It was very famous at that time too. So Sri Madhavendra Puri reaches that temple and he takes rest there. So he's very impressed with the temple and he talks to the priests in the temple about the different types of seva that happens there. Okay, various types of seva are offered to the deity, including the bhog. Bhog is the food that we offer to Sri Bhagavan before we consume it. So he asks about the bhog and he learns that among the different types of bhog, there is one particular type of bhog that's called Amrita Keli. Amrita Keli literally means something that's very nectarian to have, right? It leads to immortality. And that Amrita Keli is this shown in the photo here. This is offered even today to Gopinath here. So when he hears about this Amrita Keli from the priest, the desire comes in his mind that how nice it will be if I can taste a little bit of this Amrita Keli so that I can make the same thing for my Gopal in Govardhan. Like when I go back to Govardhan with the Chandan, I can also make and offer the same Amrita Keli. That's famous here in Remuna. I can offer the same thing there. How nice it will be if I can taste a little bit of this. The moment that thought comes to his mind, immediately after that, a second thought comes to his mind that what a papi I am. This bhog has not even been offered to Bhagavan, but even before its offering, I thought I should taste it. How can I think like that? It's only because I have a papi mentality. I want to enjoy that. And I'm not even patient enough for Bhagavan to have it first. I want to enjoy it even before it's offered to him. He thinks like that and then he quietly goes away. He doesn't say anything. So he goes away and then he goes back to the place where he's staying, which is about a kilometer or so away from, there's a hut. Hut means a marketplace. He goes to that place and he's taken a room there. He stays there in that room and he continues to do his japa. Now here, the bhog has been offered to Bhagavan And there is a count. Every time when the bhog is offered, a certain number of pots are made every day. And the temple has a tradition of so many pots of so many sizes, different sizes they make. There's some system. It's systematic, it's not random, systematically done. And so in the night when the bhog is offered and the pujari removes the bhog from there, he finds one pot is missing. He counts again, that one pot count doesn't come. So he wonders, has the other priest taken it? He searches everywhere, he asks everybody. He says, no, we didn't take it. We won't take it. It's only your job. So he wonders what happened to that one pot. Where did it go? Did we offer less today? Maybe we missed out making one pot. He goes to sleep. In his dream, Sri Gopinath appears in the night. He says, please wake up and go to the temple, go to the altar. Behind my leg, below my garment, I have taken one pot today. That missing pot is there. And I have taken it for whom? For Madhavendra Puri. Please go there, take that pot and go to him. He is sleeping there in the hut. Go there and give him this pot. Tell him that I have sent it to him. I had reserved it for him. I didn't want this to be given to anybody else. So please go and tell him that I have sent this to him. Okay. So the priest wakes up and he's totally amazed. He says, I've never seen a dream like this. Is it real or is it just my imagination? So he quickly gets up. He goes to the bathroom, has his bath and goes inside and he finds that the pot is there. And he's super excited. He says, Shri Bhagavan has personally spoken to me today and engaged me in one extraordinary lila. So he takes the pot and he runs. He goes hastily to the hut. It's past midnight. Everybody is sleeping. He goes and he starts shouting, where is this person, Madhavendra Puri? Where is this person, Madhavendra Puri? He shouts and Madhavendra Puri comes out. And he says, look, Gopinath has sent this pot for him. Madhavendra Puri says, what do you mean? The priest explains all the things that happened. And both of them are in ecstasy. He says, this is something we can't believe, that Shri Bhagavan has done this personally for us. And both of them spend that night together and they talk about Gopinath's Leelas and they together have the prasadam. And then Madhavendra Puri says, I will preserve this pot. He breaks it into pieces and binds it. He says, I'll keep these pieces so that I can relish them all my life. This is an extraordinary thing that has happened. So the priest goes back. After he goes back, Madhavendra Puri, this is where you see the greatness of a saint like him. Immediately after he goes back, Madhavendra Puri realizes that now if I continue to stay here, I'm going to become a celebrity. Because the story is going to spread like wildfire. Because such a thing never happens, right? It's extraordinary. So he says, if I stay here, everybody will come here and they will make me a great sadhu. And that's something I don't want. That's the last thing I want. So immediately he packs up and he leaves from the place. He goes to Puri. He takes the path, the road to Puri, and he vanishes from there. So next morning here, the news spreads. Everybody comes to know, but he's no longer there. Nobody knows where he has gone. So now the story continues. And this Leela that Shri Gopinath performed is called the Shirchor Leela. And after that day, this thing happened. The temple has been known as Shirachora Gopinath temple. Yeah. Or in Odia language, Kirachora Gopinath. Okay. Shira in Sanskrit, Kira in Indian or Bengali. Kirachora Gopinath temple. So if you go there today, you will find that the same Amrita Keli is available. The Prasadam it's even more famous now. Everybody goes there for having that. Like Tirupati Laddu. Right? If you go to Tirupati, everybody wants that Laddu in Tirupati. So in Ramuna, it is this Amrita Keli, this kheer. And it's extremely tasty. You can go and have it. It is about 200 kilometers from here, from Jamshedpur. It's not very far, about 4 hours of journey. So Madhavendra Puri continues. The Leela is not yet over. He continues and he goes to Puri. This is the beautiful Puri temple of Jagannath. And when he goes to Puri, he starts collecting his chandan and karpur. And the king of Puri, he comes to know that a great sannyasi has come here. He's collecting chandan for his deity. So immediately he comes forward and he helps him. He helps him to collect whatever he wants. And he collects a huge amount because it has to last for a long time. And then he says that now you can't carry all of this on your own. So I'll give you a servant. So he gives him an assistant. He says, this person will help you to carry it. And he also gives him a letter. Because by then, governments were very strict about Just like today, if something has to be exported, there's so much documentation and permissions which have to be given along with the export item, right? Exporting, importing is not just carrying the items wherever you want. So he's exporting this now from Odisha to some other kingdom. So he gives him all the documents, he gives him a servant, everything, and they start back. So on the way back, they have to go through Ramuna again, and the same deity. This is the deity of Gopinath in the center, and we have Madan Mohan on the left, on the right of Gopinath, and it's to our left. And on the left side of Gopinath is Govindadev. So when he is back in Ramuna with all the chandan and everything, the temple, the excitement is going on still. He is welcomed back. He stays there for a night. And that night, again, he has a dream in which this time Gopinath comes directly in his dream. And Gopinath says that, actually, Madhavendra, I am feeling extremely hot. It's exactly the same way that Gopal had spoken to him. He says, I want you to make chandan paste and karpur paste and apply on my body. Then Madhavendra Puri in the dream is wondering, actually, I brought this for the Gopal there in Govardhan. So Gopinath continues speaking. He says that, see, actually, I sent you here only for this Leela, that Shirchor Leela, not for the Chandan. If you leave the Chandan here and tell the priest to apply it to my body, I will receive it there in Govardhan. So you don't have to carry the Chandan back to Govardhan. Just leave it here and it has reached me. So the priest will apply it to me here in Ramuna every day. That's enough. So the Leela ends of Ramuna here, and Madhavendra Puri leaves it there and returns back to Govardhan. In conclusion, Madhavendra Puri came back to Ramuna, and his last days were in Ramuna. His Samadhi Mandir, where Samadhi means a place where saintly people are rested. Okay, not like us. For us, when we die, our body is cremated. Right? As the Hindu system is, we are cremated. It's burned to ashes, and maybe the ashes are then, be offered in some river or ocean or something. But in the case of saintly people like them, like sannyasis, they are not cremated. Their body in the sitting posture, in asana, is placed and lowered into the earth, and a samadhi mandir is built on that. And that samadhi is worshipped. It is understood that they are living there. And when we go there and worship them, we're actually doing seva to them. So Madhavendra Puri, he spent his last days here in Ramuna, and this Samadhi Mandir is just behind the temple. His walking distance maybe 200-300 meters from the temple, and anybody can visit. And there's a Baba there whom we met. He takes care of the Samadhi Mandir now, and he worships Madhavendra Puri. You can see the place where he has been placed. This deity of Gopal, which is where the story began, Gopal deity, which was in Govardhan, which was worshipped there, came under the attack of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was a determined terrorist. He wanted to destroy Hinduism to the best extent he could. He tried his best, of course, nothing succeeds. So when he attacked Vrindavan, this deity was taken away from there. And again, the kings of Rajasthan, they gave shelter, and it was taken into Rajasthan, well into Rajasthan. And eventually it reached a place called Nathadwara. Nathadwara is near Udaipur. It's very close to Udaipur, about 50 kilometers from Udaipur. And in Nathadwara, this deity was established and named as Srinath. So you can see here, the same deity is standing there with his hand in Govardhan Leela. And today, Srinathji is one of the most visited temples in India. The most visited temple is perhaps Tirupati, right? And this comes probably just after Tirupati, number 2 or number 3. It's highly visited temple and also one of the richest temples. Just like Tirupati is the richest temple in India in terms of the amount of donations it gets from its devotees, bhaktas who come there. This probably is the second or third richest temple in India. It's very famous, and this is known, the whole town of Nathadwara, it revolves around this deity, the deity of Srinathji. So I will stop my class with this story, and we can now take doubts. Om Shanno Mitra Sham Varunaha शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मावादिशं ऋतमवादिशं सत्यमवादिशं तन्मामावीत् तद्वक्तारमावीत् आवीन्माम् आवीद्वक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ तत्सत्